The Guyana Water Incorporated's GWI supply systems operate under constant challenges. The main problems include aging pipes, poor assets, illegal connections, and high energy costs. Within the last 2 years, GWI has been able to address several of these challenges. This week, the managing director and staff tell us that the water company has managed to improve pressure, quality, and continuity of the water supply service to their customers, while strengthening their own operational and management performance. I'm Tiffany Rojas, and this is Guyana 411. The World Health Organization, WHO, has an extensive list of quality parameters for drinking water, some of which GWI has already achieved. The others, the water company is striving to realize, and within the past 2 years has invested heavily towards this goal.
One of WHO's parameters that GWI has not yet been able to achieve relates to the removal of the iron content in the water supply. To correct this situation, within the past 2 years, GWI established a new water treatment system to 16 pumping stations across regions 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and rehabilitated 24 treatment plants filtration system. The water company also began collaborating with the Dutch water company to improve its iron removal efficiencies at its water treatment plant. Head of Water Quality Dion Anderson explains.
Some of the plants, you would see they have an aeration system. We are working in collaboration with the Dutch to have a different methodology of aeration instead of what we call cascade or multiple tray aeration. There are a technology called forced air aeration. So we're working in terms of looking at the iron removal efficiency as it also the energy efficiency for these two technologies, so that we can consider which one is more appropriate for the iron removal.
But even as GWI works to improve the quality of water being supplied from each of its systems, steps were also being taken to ensure the water source is properly protected from potential contamination and that the water treatment system is operating effectively. Head of Water Quality Dion Anderson highlights how this process was being facilitated by GWI's central laboratory located in the Silver Street, Newtown, Kitty.
We receive samples every day from all the treatment plants and pump stations monitored by GWI, and we test for several parameters including pH, turbidity, iron, aluminium, microB, etc. to ensure that the water is in compliance with WHO standards. And as the water comes in, we test different parts of the treatment process, from the raw water, including the different stages of treatment, onto the final water, and in the distribution, which is the water received by customers.
Lab technician Gomiti Badley takes us through a few of the quality assurance steps that are carried out at the laboratory. Badley is testing the iron content of a raw water supply from GWI's plant in Bartica, Region 7.
This here is the bottle of the sample, 250 ml. The bottle is 250 ml. So first I will shake the sample. Discard some. These here is sample cells. They're both 10 ml. This is the 890. This is the instrument that I'll be used to test the iron. So I'll now pour 10 ml of water to be tested in both cells.
The results from the testing are reported to GWI regional managers so as to inform them of the quality of water that is being delivered through the taps and the effectiveness of the treatment of the quality of water delivered. A new initiative will see the water being tested at the plant they are produced. Since GWI has begun an initiative to establish mini laboratories at the water treatment plants in all the regions. One such laboratory has already been established at GWI Shelter Belt Treatment Plant. This laboratory is monitoring the quality of water being provided in Georgetown on a 24/7 basis, says Managing Director Dr. Richard Van West Charles.
When you looked at the procedures for the treatment of water in Shelter Belt and other areas, the requisite requirements were not met. So we commenced by establishing a lab here at Shelter Belt, which goes on a 24-hour basis, and the water is tested samples are collected every 2 hours. So there are 3 shifts for the lab, and we're now preparing for a number of other mini labs around the country to do exactly the same. These lab results are going to be coming to us on real time, right? So that the supervisors, the managers can get the results, and any shift or movement, they can intervene very quickly.
Focus on ensuring the quality of water supply has also seen GWI establishing a new water quality department within the area of its operations. Dr. Richard Van West Charles says the staff within this department have already been critical in ensuring that the water quality is improved through continuous testing in many areas.
Previously, not much monitoring of water quality during the last, prior to my taking up office, was done. And it was done probably maybe on a sporadic basis. But as a result of our improved testing, for example, we discovered a lot of contamination in the wells in Letton, for example. And we were able to intervene. The systems are now chlorinated. And we will continue to look at what is happening in an equitable basis.
GWI's effort to ensure water provided is of top quality has also seen a focus on the hinterland. GWI has purchased and begun distribution of Lifesavers C2 filters to schools and health facilities in the hinterland. Thus far, C2 filters have been installed in Camarang Primary School and the Upper Mazruni District Hospital in Region 7. The filters take the water from rivers and purify it, making it safe for consumption for the students and teachers in the school, doctors, health staff, and patients in the health facilities. GWI has also purchased portable filtration units which have been distributed to communities including Camarang, Kako, Kwebenang, Riverview, and Carroll for residents' use. The 2 programs have been critical to the reduction of waterborne diseases in these hinterland communities and also help in improving the standard of living of the residents. Going forward, GWI intends to construct 3 new water treatment plants to bridge the treatment gaps in West Coast and East Bank Demerara and in the East Berbice. One plant will serve the communities from Cornelia Ida to Dikendren, another the communities from Diamond to Herstellin, and another the communities from Sheet Anchor to number 19 Village.
Two of the main concerns with respect to water supply systems are efficiency and reliability. In addressing these, however, GWI must first confront a decades-old system, which was poorly planned.
The Georgetown water distribution network is very old. The pipe network is in a very poor condition. Breakages due to corrosion had compromised water pressure, water supply, and water quality. Dirty water was getting into the pipes through the cracks and breakages. However, over the past 2 years, there has been continuous rehabilitation and upgrades of the Georgetown and other water distribution system across the country. The result is that several areas that were receiving an intermittent supply of water are now receiving a more reliable supply. Managing Director of GWI, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, explains that more than 85% of the water facility across the country are now providing a 24-hour service, including to Georgetown, the capital city. This translates to approximately 60% of GWI's customers receiving continuous service on a daily basis.
If you were to look at Georgetown, and some of the other areas, you will find people saying, well, we're not getting water all the time. When I came in, there wasn't a 24/7 system across. One area would have 9 hours running, another area 12 hours, another area 15 hours. But the evidence is there from WHO that for us to avoid contamination of the system, you have to run 24 hours. In a place like Georgetown, for example. And so we have increased the running hours in most stations.
Despite these interventions, water supply to an area such as Georgetown still presents several challenges, and it all comes down to the issue of the water system design and planning that exists. In many of these areas, what existed was a single water supply system. Therefore, even with upgrades to the infrastructural network, such a system would still be significantly burdened to produce a continuous supply to large populated areas. Dr. Richard van Bastras explained how bad planning in the past has affected GWI today.
If you look at Central Rheinfeld, for example, you cannot, with the present infrastructure, run 24 hours because it was not planned properly. So you actually require to have an additional reservoir so that, because what is pertaining at present is that with a single reservoir, water is treated, it moves to the reservoir, and then it is pumped out. So the reservoir takes about 4 hours to fill, and then it's distributed. That reservoir, then, in order to refill, you've got to wait another 4 hours or more for the treatment of water, and then to fill, and then to distribute again. So we're looking at the possibilities of getting another reservoir there for those people who are getting water from Central Rheinfeld. And then we are also looking at, and so hence what we're trying to avoid in the future is our planning process, that the planning process caters for proper supply and demand, that your infrastructure must match the population demand.
GWI has been working to improve the water supply capacity of these systems by installing new infrastructure, including new wells, new pipe mains, and new trench crossings. The managing director says that the network redundancy will also provide for alternate paths for water to be delivered to residents in the event that a cable is broken or a connector accidentally is unplugged in the old system.
If you look at the system throughout Guyana, there is no level of redundancy of supply, of production. That's why in Diamond you have one well. In Virgin Ocean you have one well. In Friendship you have one well. Right? So we have to move to the stage where it is more than one well, because each well has its own life cycle. Each well may have a problem, but we want to ensure that the population, water is life, so you want to have access to water. So we need to have a level of redundancy throughout all of the regions.
GWI also begun examining the issue of network connection. The water company has been working to ensure that its network is connected in such a way that if a pump goes bad in one area, it can shift water from one area to another. In addressing this issue of redundancy, new wells have been drilled in GWI Shelterbelt Compound, in Sophia, Diamond, Barticle, and in Wakenham, among other communities. The connection of new infrastructure would have also taken into account improving the network to meet the growing demand for water across the country. These interventions allow for residents in over 43 communities to receive water for the first time, benefiting over 45,300 people directly. For over 40 years, the main source of water supply for the residents of the indigenous community of Cairo Region 7 was a creek which runs near to the village. In recent years, the creek became contaminated due to the mining operations, leaving the residents severely affected. Things changed for the better when GWI installed a water distribution network in the village. Now, more than 300 residents have access to safe drinking water from standpipes just a few steps from their homes. To provide reliability and redundancy of water supply in Region 9, GWI teamed up with the Regional Democratic Council (RDC) and drilled 8 portable wells. Another issue that GWI has been seeking to resolve has had to do with the energy requirements of its infrastructure. The water company relies solely on the Guyana Power and Light for power. Therefore, when there is a power outage, the result is significant downtime of GWI infrastructure. This issue has particularly been plaguing the provision of a 24-hour water supply to GWI's customers in Region 3. GWI is working to correct the issue. Martin Garrick, the Regional Divisional Manager, explains that GWI had to resize the units to fit the imbalance and larger voltage tolerance for the power company.
We would have a unit that's meeting the requirements for power consumption, so supply of water from the well. What happens is that GPL doesn't always come clean, and quality of the power is quite questionable. So what we did is oversize our units, so to speak, so they can run at a low voltage or the imbalanced voltage that may come from the power company. So there won't be a disruption of service to the customers.
The region is set to benefit from further measures to power their water supply. A total of 8 mobile generators with an electrical ring system will be installed in the region.
In this next feature, we hear how GWI has been laying the foundation for an aggressive program that seeks to reduce non-revenue water to an acceptable level in order to improve their financial situation and improve access to water services to their customers.
Non-revenue water generally refers to water that is produced, enters the system, and is lost before it reaches the customer. Losses can be through real losses such as leaks or apparent losses such as theft or metering inaccuracies. GWI produces water to sell to its customers. This is their income or their revenue stream. Therefore, the higher the company's non-revenue water level, the less income it collects. GWI is being guided by an expert from Netherlands in rolling out a non-revenue campaign in 3 specific communities: Iflot in Region 3, Diamond in Region 4, and Sheet Anchor in Region 6. Planning and Implementation Director Ramchan Jaila explains that the campaign will be in time extended to all areas in all regions.
Presently, we have a consultant which is in Guyana from the Netherlands, from the foundation Water is Our World, and he is here with his wife, and he's working along with GWI to develop a master strategy to address non-revenue water. So he, along with the project team and the non-revenue water core team, they're focusing on 3 specific areas during his period of stay here, and GWI will expand that program when he leaves.
The interventions are being funded under a larger water improvement project covered by the Inter-American Development Bank (IDB). It focuses on leak repairs and addressing correctly metering. The meters being used are of better quality than those used in the past. The old meters develop faults due to the high iron content of the water. In regards to metering, the company is working towards achieving 100% water meter coverage by the end of 2020. Managing Director of GWI, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, says the company used its own funding to acquire over 16,000 meters and has prioritized for 2017 metering on the east coast of Demerara, Georgetown, and in Region 6.
We have a number of people who are not in the system who are getting water. And I think it has to do it's a hangover of bad planning from the previous administration. A number of meters, for example. People have meters, but they are not in our system. People are getting water, but they are not in our system. So we are aggressively trying to ensure that everyone who is getting water is a customer of GWI. There's no secret that we have to, it takes money to run the system, right? So we have to ensure that we can meter between now and the next 3 years the entire country. So it is fair, whatever you are charged for, you know you have used it.
GWI's focus on reducing non-revenue water also addresses the management of district through zoning of areas. The water company recently completed the zoning of the country. This will allow for quick response to report of leakage. Already, contractors have been assigned to the various zones to provide immediate attention to leaks and other infrastructural needs, as reported to GWI by customers.
In working to meet the goal of achieving optimum service and reliability of the water supply system, GWI has also addressed several of its own organizational gaps.
Over the past 2 years, the water company has supported a series of technical and non-technical interventions and initiatives. Its managing director, Dr. Richard Van West-Charles, says these were aimed at boosting the company's in-house capacity and the morale of its staff.
I assumed office in October 2015. I did a quick analysis of what existed by visiting a number of the regions, having discussions with the senior staff. Immediately, it seems to me that organizationally, there were some gaps. One, at the human resource level, there were gaps in the competencies of technical staff, administrative staff.
A gap analysis was conducted and it verified the managing director's suspicions. Thus began an in-house program to correct these deficiencies. Planning and Implementation Director Ramchan Jailal explains that the company started by sending its engineers to the United States in batches to be trained in new drilling technologies.
Right now we have limited knowledge with regards to drilling of our wells. There's limited local knowledge. We intend to take this further where we can use improved technology, and our engineers were trained last year. We had a team visit the United States and they undertook a training course, and so they have knowledge, and we intend to continue to enhance our capacity of our engineers, where advanced training in well drilling technology is provided and other training. So we intend to utilize improved methodology in the drilling of wells, which can reduce our construction costs, and it can also reduce our operating costs, so that our wells are developed with the highest efficiency. And the construction methodology that is used, the local personnel, such as the contractors from different regions, they are part of the entire process of drilling these wells. So after we've advanced on a phase, these contractors now have the capacity, and they can also utilize this new technology in drilling additional wells across the country.
Meanwhile, focus on building capacity with regards to advancing new methodologies in water treatment plant construction is being covered under a contract between GWI and 2 Dutch firms. The firms will be advancing the construction and the development of 3 new water treatment plants. As part of this process, the firm will provide on-site training to about a dozen GWI engineers and local contractors. Jailal says support is also coming from GWI's counterparts in Suriname.
We are also collaborating with Suriname, the Suriname Water Company, because they have similar water treatment plants. And so, because of a teaming agreement, which was facilitated through a partnership initiated by the IDB, we were able, a team of workers from engineers and technicians visited Suriname, and a team from Suriname visited Guyana, and now we are working on a memorandum of understanding to share information, to advance our training, and to advance support in different areas so that both companies can learn from each other and we can grow together.
Over the past 2 years, GWI has also worked to address some of its in-house occupational health and safety issues. Dr. Richard Van Westerals explains the breaches that once existed have been corrected and staff are now provided with the necessary protective gear.
Especially for the staff that are working in the treatment plant areas, etc., that are handling chemicals. There is a situation which we haven't arrested, for me, we haven't dealt with fully, because as you know, I'm a physician. So, but we are trying to ensure that staff who are handling chemicals for the treatment of the water, as in a place like Shelter Belt, ensure that they have the protective gear on. And I am now trying to ensure that we have a preventative program that would allow these staff members who are interfacing with chemicals that they will be assessed on a 6-monthly basis, especially with respect to their lung functions. So that is being put in place, and also to look at their general physical examination.
Also addressed was the remuneration of staff members.
Over the past 2 years, GWI has expended in excess of $3 billion undertaking infrastructural and operational improvements across the country in all 10 administrative regions. More than 100,000 people have benefited from improved water service. For 2017, the water company will be undertaking another $2.5 billion in works. Residents in Oronook, Matthews Ridge, Virgin Nugent, Port Royne, Eccles, Covent Garden, Baracara, Chenapau, Paramakatoy, Wizrock and Aituni are among those set to benefit. With that, we've come to the end of another edition of Guyana 411. Remember, this and all other GINA programs can be viewed on our YouTube channel. You can also get updates from our Facebook page. I'm Tiffany Rojas. Have a great week ahead.